We are officially the place where the Philadelphia Eagles come. I mean, make no mistake about it. We are officially the place that they come to. I would like to respond to Devontae Smith and his tweet tonight and how I went after A.J. Owens, who cried and bitched, and the Eagles made sure that they tied him up and gave him his $32 million. I told you, before Howard, the mouthpiece Eskin, even came out here. Look at these two lovers sitting side by side. Devontae made it very clear. We're very happy with what it. Oh, I bet you are. 20 and $32 million wide receivers. Holy cow. Hey, guess what? You're freaking welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm here to help. I'm totally here to help. By the way, the draft has been as wild as can be, and I'm keeping an eyeball on it here. And I got to tell you, the Michael Penix deal to Atlanta, you just gave the guy almost $250,000. And I'm talking Kirk Cousins. I mean, Bowers going to the Raiders, awesome. But, man, all the quarterbacks that have gone so far, J.J. McCarthy, who? It's pushed really good players down into the position where the Eagles may not have to move. Okay? Hey, man, look at Philly Trojan. Get on a treadmill. Hey, man, I don't have to get on a treadmill because you know why? Your boys come here, JAKIB and Big Sills. Ask your guys. Hey, man, I may have 2 listeners, 2 viewers, but they'll be A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith or Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. I'd like to congratulate Roseman and Associates on another great deal. The guy bitched and cried enough. Hey, well, I didn't get – why is St. Brown making more money than me? Congratulations to you, son. You bitched and cried. You'll never win a Super Bowl with A.J. Brown on your team. You'll never win one with him on your team. Because you know why? They don't make your quarterback better. Your quarterback wasn't better last year, was he? You know what's funny? Those 2 dudes are on your team last year. You were 1-7. What did they bring? 0. You've got to fix that defense. Tonight is the beginning of that. If they go offense tonight and do something preposterous. Now, I'm all right with an offensive tackle. But if they get and do something dumb tonight and go off the reservation, you need to fix your defense. It's a train wreck. It's a train wreck. So you need to fix that. Has to be. Keeping an eye on everything. Picks in at 17. The Minnesota Vikings. Hey, by the way, once again, if you're Justin Jefferson, do you want J.J. McCarthy throwing you the ball? How about Bo Nix going to the Broncos? Holy cow. Bo Nix? He's 32 years old. What in the world are you thinking? Picks in at 17. J.J. McCarthy. I mean, when I look at that pick, you're like, McCarthy. He goes to the Vikings, and you're Justin Jefferson is going to get $30 million anywhere in the league. He's the best player at that position. Yeah, including your boy AJ. AJ Brown got $32 million. Holy cow. Absolutely ridiculous. The defensive era is over. You know what, Death Row? You may be right. What a shame what the NFL is doing to the defensive players, changing the rules too. Maybe Owens can play safety. Thomas is right onto something there. We got like 3 and second round picks. Go defensive first. Big Sills had to stick around to see this. Hey, Akua, pretty interesting when, again, of all the people that responded to me, having Devontae Smith respond to me, he's quite a shocker. Hey, by the way, you all know this, how much I love the kid. I couldn't have been more wrong about a football player because I didn't think he had. Dallas Turner goes to the Vikings. Not a fan of the player. Dave Lundstedt, who was on the program a couple weeks ago, said that the guy, unless he's in space, if he's lined up over a tight end or he has to deal with tackles, will get annihilated. That's not Will Anderson. I'm not a fan of the player, too. 17th pick. Let me see where that goes in line with some of the players that I have said that were the top players in the draft. What I did was I put the top 32 guys, and we've been doing that on the program, the top 32 guys that were in the draft. And here we go. And when I look at 17, is he in? Dallas 19th. I had Dallas 19th. I had Dallas Turner 19th. So 17 and 19, that sounds about right. So that sounds about right when it comes to that pick. You know, in space, he's a good player. Dallas Turner's going 17th to the Vikings. Eagles 5 picks away. Now, I will ask you this. What do you want to see the Philadelphia Eagles do here? Hey, I want to close one thing up with the Devontae Smith. I really respect the fact that he responded to us. I respect the player. I don't respect A.J. Owens. I think he bitches and he cries and he moans. But what I do respect about A.J. Owens is his game. He's a tremendous football player. Great player. Make him the highest paid wide. I got to say this again about Devontae. Devontae, why did you sign that contract? Look at how much money you left on the table. Devontae Smith signed the worst wide receiver deal in NFL history because he wants to be an Eagle. Actually, kudos. He wants to stay in Philly. And he signed a shitty deal. It's already outdated. Think about it. St. Brown signed a $30 million deal. And AJ just signed a $32 million deal. So let's put that in perspective. The overall deal that Devontae has comes out to $18.4 million over the 5 years. This guy left $13-14 million per year on the table over that contract. It's a horrible deal. But he feels comfortable in Philly. The money wasn't the issue. Obviously, it wasn't the issue. Shit, Jamar Chase, CD, and Jefferson haven't even signed. Jefferson's going to get $35 million annually. Do you understand the difference between $35 million annually and 18? Man, that guy threw millions and millions of dollars in the trash can and lit it on fire because he wanted to be an Eagle. Dude, there's a lot of me that loves it. Kudos to you, dude. You wanted to be in Philly that bad that you took that much of a haircut. I mean, massive money you've left on the table. That's right. Big Rhythm, great for the fans. Great for him. By the way, he's in a comfort zone wanting to stay in Philly. That's really great for him. Okay, we're at the 18th pick right now. We're down to Cincinnati. So we're getting closer and closer to the Philadelphia Eagle pick here. By the way, I'm not ripping Devontae because you know why? He could have held out. He wanted to remain a Philadelphia Eagle. And the Eagles, here's my opinion on AJ. I think the Eagles extended him and gave him this money because they knew they have a nuclear meltdown if they didn't. I don't think that guy has the same character that Devontae Adams does. I don't. Think about that. He had 2 years remaining on his contract, but they didn't want the uproar with the new OC in the building. You guys are thinking corner? I'll say this, DRC. If the Philadelphia Eagles go corner, big risk. Big risk. By the way, Christopher, he says the Eagles seem to always outsmart themselves. No, I think they got a great deal in the Devontae Smith deal. Hey, look at Senor. Senor Sills was right about A.J. Owens. I told you, right, Senor? He was going to bitch and moan, throw up all kinds of crap, and he was going to get a brand new contract. You know why? Because the Eagles were not going to allow him to be in the offseason knowing that Devontae Smith was going to make $20 million too. Danny, you were live. I didn't know. It's all good, Barb. Barb, the pick for we're 18, 19, 20, 21. We're 5 picks away. 19, 20, 21. 4 picks away from the Philadelphia Eagles. What do you guys think we should do here? I think edge rusher. Versus not gone yet. I would love to get him. And if Howie, here, remember what I said about my final 5. Okay, so Bowers is gone. Verse, Chop Robinson, Talisa Fuaga, I believe, was gone already, and Teron Arnold. Those are the guys. Those were my 5 guys. If Verse is there at 22. Now, remember also, Hendrickson just demanded a trade. Does that play into Cincinnati and Duke Tobin, the general manager, at going after Verse? I was pretty shocked that Latu went as high as he did. I had Latu ranked. I had Latu ranked 12th, which is not too far off. Isn't it? See, look what I'm telling you here. I'm first round picks. Okay, Cincinnati's getting ready to pick. Jamar Chase's contract is also up. So far with the draft and the way, the only person that's really thrown 18, OT, Amarius Mims, outstanding ball player. Outstanding ball player. Outstanding. And by the way, you got to protect Joe Burrow. He's the highest paid player in the league. The number one. You can't have a $52 million quarterback and a $2 offensive line. John C. goes, I hate that Bowers isn't available. I got you. Sills, Bengals went OL Mims. Yep, they went Mims. Mims is a heck of a ball player. Like him from Georgia. He'll make a great addition. Hey, don't be upset with me, Jalen, that I called it, that your boy would cry and bitch. I thought Jets were going to take Bowers to pair with Rodgers. No way. No way. Jets got to take people like wideouts and OTs. Got to protect Rodgers, especially after what you saw with the scenario where 4 minutes into the season was lost. You got to keep that guy upright. Bram Barton, I think he'll go a little bit later. Barton, in my opinion, this is where I have him ranked. I got Barton ranked down in the I got him at 32. Where is Howie, Flexen says? Flexen, Howie can be patient now. What's happening here? Verse is falling. Verse and the 2 corners, Mitchell and Arnold, are falling. Here are the needs. Look, remember what the needs are for the Eagles. at 22. Corner, linebacker. There's no linebacker in the draft worth a shit. Safety, OT, and there's going to be plenty of them because they're falling. And OG, there's no guards really in the draft. Wide receiver and tight end. There's no other tight end in the draft. The kid from Illinois is pretty good. He's pretty good. The kid from Florida State's not bad. But those guys are third and fourth round picks. Okay? Chop is undervalued. He is. He's still there. Listen, here's my final five. I told you. Brock Bowers, Jared Verse, Chop Robinson, Talisi Fuaga, Teron Arnold. Majority of those guys are still available right now. Eagles need Arnold. I'm not sold on Mitchell. Jalen, I'm with you. Guy that played in the Mid-America Conference, I'm not sold on either. Dan, I love Graham's versatility to play multiple positions. James, you're right. He can play guard and offensive tackle. I think he's really good. Listen, the difference between Fuaga and Graham Burton is minuscule. There's probably 10 of the draft has been dominated by offensive linemen so far and by what? Quarterbacks. We're now sitting at the 19th pick. We're getting closer to the Eagle pick here. I would love to see Verse sitting here. That would be the pick that I would want. Rams have to, in my opinion, if the Rams are smart, but here's the problem that you have with the Rams picking right now at 19. So the Rams pick at 19. They need D-line and edge. They may take Verse here. This is where you got to be a little bit nervous of Verse going. And then Chop is going to be sitting in your position. Now, does that mean Quinyon Mitchell and Teron Arnold? Does that mean those guys are going to be sitting in that position there at 22? And do you have to trade up? As of right now, Howie hasn't had to do anything. And you're sitting here at 19. So, I mean, the players that they covet are falling to them. The Eagles are being patient. I like this because you know what this means? Best player available. Best player available because of the O-linemen and the quarterbacks and the receivers. And get this, the Michael Penix and the Bo Nix going as high as they did have pushed a ton of great players into Howie's lap. Holy cow. I'll tell you what, the better players in this draft, in my opinion, when we look back on this draft, will be at the bottom end of the draft compared to the top end of the draft. I'm not sold on Caleb Williams. I'm not sold. Well, I like Jalen. I like Jaden Daniels. I do. But I think the best players are going to be at the bottom end of this draft. If you walk out with Mitchell, Arnold, or Verse and have both second-round picks, rhythm, amen. Because then you could take Colson, Wilson, or Edgerrin Cooper at linebacker. How about this? I'll tell you what I'll do here. Don't forget tomorrow, 10 a.m., we're doing a special show. If you walk out of here with Verse and Edgerrin Cooper or Wilson or Colson, the linebackers from Michigan and from NC State and from A&M, you've added two really good, I think, good football players to your defense. Why didn't Howie trade up? He doesn't have to right now. Trade up for what? What would you have traded up for? An O-lineman? A quarterback? What exactly would you have traded up for? The corners are falling to you. The edge rushers are falling. Our receivers are falling to you. The two best guys got off the board already, Neighbors and Odunze. Brock Bowers is, in my opinion, the best player in the draft. I mean, Rams need to replace Donald. But here's the thing, James. I'm not going to draft that kid Murphy with that pick right there at 19 when Murphy is, what is his grade, Murphy? You know what? You're right. Murphy is ranked 14th. This would be a pick for Brian Murphy from Texas. I mean, I don't know if they'll take him, but that would be the pick there too. I mean, they took Jared Verse. Damn it. Now Howie's got to revamp. Okay. Are you looking at Chop now? So here's what you have. Latu's gone. Verse is gone. Verse was the better player. Turner's gone. You have Darius Robinson and you have Chop Robinson. Are those good enough at 22 for you to take? So now you're getting into the 20th pick. Or do you go Quinyon Mitchell and Teron Arnold? Those are your higher graded guys than Chop. I like Chop a lot, but those guys are graded higher players. Here, Quinyon Mitchell's the 7th best player in the draft, according to me. Teron Arnold's the 11th. If Howie lands on one of those two guys, I'm not going to bitch at that because they're graded higher than what Chop is graded. Chop is graded down in the 20s, late 20s. So it's looking more like corner here, in my opinion, as we get closer to 22. I would say corner or offensive tackle. So now this is what we're doing. We're funneling it down. If Howie goes off the reservation and takes a receiver or after you just sign those guys, I don't mind an offensive tackle. Is Chop and Darius Robinson good enough? Those are reaches at that position. The corners are falling to him. The corners are falling. Pittsburgh's on the clock right now at 20. Eagles' options are, I like him too, Teron Arnold and Quinyon Mitchell. Prince, I think you're right. See Prince right here? I think Prince, and Crowley goes, why did they extend AJ? You know, Crowley, I've been giving those two guys a bunch of shit, and I appreciate those guys responding on Twitter tonight, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith to me and our show and our network, and I totally appreciate it. But at the end of the day, I mean, the guy's totally, is he a $32 million wide receiver? Oh, once again, what I'll say to you is $32 million, I think that is wasted money. I think it's wasted money. I totally think it's wasted money. If your wide receivers are better than your quarterback, and they are, you don't have a quarterback. Sills, could How get back into the first after 22? Really good. Hey, that Cooper DeJean kid's falling down there too. Frankie, he's not a bad choice. I'm fine with Teron Arnold at 22. I think it's more like Senior, what he's saying. I think it's going to be one of those three guys. I think the kid from Washington, the kid from Bama, and Toledo. I think it's coming down. The Steelers picks in. Then we're going to be 2 picks away from the Philadelphia Eagles. Howie doesn't have to move right now. He's playing this right. He's patient. Steelers about to pick. Fontenot reports breaking on Twitter. Okay. And he, by the way, he's the 21st ranked player at my board. And he's sitting here now right around that same number. So he's in my, see if you can see right here, what I did was I ranked all the players. And as you can see, I put Fontenot at 21. So I got him right around there. That's where I have him. See Dallas Turner, JC Latham. I couldn't believe he went as high as he did. Now, again, I think it's what you like, and you looked at the programs that you were playing and that you were recruiting to and that you were evaluating with. Griffin, I think Chop is the pick. I would love to get Chop Robinson in there. I like him way better than Darius Robinson. I listen. Steelers going with wide receiver. It's got to be Brian Thomas if they do go wide receiver in that pick. If they take a wide receiver, in my opinion, they're going to go with the kid from LSU, Brian Thomas Jr. Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think he's a little bit 22. I think that's a little high for him. I'm okay with him being down at the low end of 32. So this draft, I'll tell you what, there's no doubt that COVID has helped the offensive linemen a ton when it comes to these guys and how many of them have gone so far. Troy Fontenot, offensive line, that doesn't shock me. Okay, so now get this. My final five. You're talking about, here we are. We're now going to be 2 picks away, 21, actually 1 pick away. He's got to go corner here. Corner or Chop. That's what I would say. Corner or Chop. If he goes off the reservation. Now, corner, is there anybody else in the draft? You're not going to be wrong. You're not going to be wrong, in my opinion. You're not going to take a defensive tackle. You're not. Would you take Wiggins? Wiggins, Cooper DeJean, Wiggins, Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, or the kid from Toledo, Mitchell. Mitchell's the 7th best player in the draft. If the Philadelphia Eagles, and I've told you guys my problem that I have with Toledo and the fact that he doesn't play against a lot of great players. If you draft the 7th best player in the draft, I personally think Howie did it right. Okay, so Steelers went with the offensive tackle. Now we're sitting here and we're looking at edge, which means there's only one guy, in my opinion, I don't really like. I don't really like Darius Robinson over Chop. And would he take Chop? Chop Robinson, cornerback. It's got to be one of the corners. Could it be Nate Wiggins? Could be in that position too. So at 21, this is Miami. Miami needs a defensive tackle. The Dolphins need a tackle. I got so many sheets here. I got so many sheets here. Here. Miami Dolphins at 21. They need a guard and D-line. Murphy makes sense to me here. Murphy makes sense. Also, Jerzon Newton. He makes sense. The defensive tackle from Illinois. Tight ends off the board. Wide receiver, Brian Thomas. So we have Brian Thomas Jr., Jalen Waddle, and Tyreek Hill for Tagovailoa. That coach loves offense. It could be a receiver here. Now, they also need an edge. They also need a corner. In my opinion, they got Jalen Ramsey. I could see a corner going here with the Miami Dolphins. And the Dolphins getting a corner here. Sills, Murphy's gone. Murphy's gone. You're right. I'm sorry. He went to Seattle. My bad. So it's got to be the kid from Illinois. Thank you, senor. Thank you. Yep, that's right. He went to Seattle. They need interior help because they couldn't stop the run. Okay. Big Rhythm says, sorry, mistyped earlier, Sills. Could Howie get back into the first round with one of the second round picks? Yeah, no, not one. He'd have to do two or one and then another one next year. He could get back in like with Buffalo, but Buffalo wants a wideout. Okay. I agree with you, Griffin. I think they're going to go corner here because the Dolphins are looking at the two here. Teron Arnold's 11th best player in the draft. And Mitchell's the 7th. I don't know how you don't go corner if you're Miami here. And then that would leave Howie with one of the corners or Nate Wiggins, an O-lineman, or Chop. Hey, Xander, how long have we been saying Chop Robinson? A month? We've been saying Chop Robinson a month. 6'4", 255. I think, in my opinion, he could be somebody special. I think, guess what? We're now rolling towards Chop. The Dolphins pick is in, and then the Eagle pick will be next. I think they're going corner here. And if it's my guess, it's Mitchell. That's where they'll go. Put him on the other side because Xavier Howard, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Dolphins have allowed him to walk into the open market. So I think they'll put Mitchell in here or Teron Arnold. I mean, they like Southeastern Conference guys in Miami. They need an edge. If it goes edge here, it's OT or it's Chop, in my opinion. Let's see here. Dolphins taking Chop. Damn it! Oh, one pick before Howie sat too long. It's okay. He's going corner. Damn it. Chop Rock, I wanted right before Howie had a chance. I still think he's doing it right because here, you still have great old linemen. I'm not going to shit on him for that. If he takes one of the remaining old linemen, I'm totally not going to shit on that. Damn it, I wanted Chop in Philly. Can you imagine? You would have had Chop Robinson, Josh Sweat, and you would have had Chop Robinson, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis as your front three in your new 34. Damn. I would have loved that. He's got to go corner here. Plus, you got McKinstry on the table. This is going to be a big pick. Hey, he's got good play. Howie did this right by not moving up. He didn't have to give up any of his assets. I think they're going to go linebacker in the second round now. Okay, I think he's going to go linebacker for sure with one of those 2 second-round picks that he has in the second round. Man, one pick away, and the Dolphins took Chop Robinson. And now they're going to put him on the other side of Chubb. Holy shit, that looks pretty good. And can you imagine? You got the kid they got from Denver. Now they got Robinson on the other side too. Pretty formidable looking pass rush if the kid pans out to be what I think he can be. Last time draft fell this perfect, we got Rager. I have a feeling Howie will fuck it up. Watch we pick Robinson. Nobody from Toledo. Brian. I don't know, man. Jalen Phillips, too. That's right, the Miami guy. Phillips from the U. He's also, man, a really good-looking pass rusher here coming up. Dolphins, I mean, damn. And we see what happened with that. Sills Phillips from the U. Outstanding ball player. Follows me on Twitter. I love the kid a lot. Pick the Toledo guy so Dan can rant. You know what? Here's a shooter. At 22, you get the 7th best player in the draft. Shooter. I don't know if I can bitch at that. You got the 7th best player in the draft? You know? Can you bitch at it? What do you expect them to do at 22? The Surtain thing obviously is not going to happen. And, you know, I mean, I don't know. Take the kid Mitchell. He's the 7th best. Where the fuck is Toledo? hey, Toledo's somewhere. I don't know. Dude, I'm with you, man. Cooper DeJean, Nate Wiggins. It's going to be interesting to see who they pick. And the pick is coming up next here. How about this? Who do you want to see them pick? Here's the guys that are remaining that I would like for them to pick. Teron Arnold. Nate Wiggins. Cooper DeJean. Kool-Aid McKinstry. You wouldn't draft Jackson Powers Johnson, I don't think. Or would you draft Tyler Guyton or Bram Barton? Damn, Chop went to the Dolphins. That sucks, big ones. Man, I told you. Hey, Xander, everyone. I told you he'd go 22. Well, he went 21. I may not get the teams right, but I know where you're going. I thought the Eagles had a shot at him. There's no question they're disappointed because there's your guy to take over. Because then you slide back Milton Williams into your swing tackle and your nose, and you could play him at multiple positions, especially if you're in a 5 front. Okay, I mean, I look watching his highlights. Watch his hands. Look at his hands. See how his motor is? Man, that kid would have looked great in an Eagle uniform. He's so good, man. I have really high expectations for him. He's got great hands. Moves his feet well. Knows leverage. Love the kid. Corners to pick. Troy, you got Mitchell. You know, they were talking about moving up to get Mitchell. Here's Mitchell at 22. So you have Mitchell. Here's the corners. Mitchell. Not one corner has gone. Wow. I told you the cornerback position wasn't that hot. Why? Remember what I said on the show, guys? Hey, Yale, remember what I said? The best corner's still in college. He's not in this draft. That's what undermines the cornerback position. Travis Hunter's the best corner in the draft this year and next year. He's the best player. So when you look at the cornerback position, you're comparing these guys to him. There's no comparison. There's no comparison to Travis Hunter and these, like Quinton Mitchell is not in the same conversation. And Teron Arnold as Travis Hunter. They're just not. They are not in the same position. So, I mean, could they trade? Howie's on the phone right now. and he's in the draft room with Fredo Sirianni. Could they trade down? I wouldn't have a problem with them trading down and picking up multiple picks and picking up a third and potentially another 2. I'm not sold at the corners this year in the draft. And if I'm going to pick a corner, I'm going to pick Arnold. The pick is in. And the pick is in. I love this stuff. I really do. And with the 22nd pick, Eagles take Quinyon Mitchell. I'm not upset with that. Except for this. Here's both sides of this. He was rated coming out of college as the 7th best player in the draft. Here's my complaint about taking this player. Quinyon Mitchell has played against nobody but Marvin Harrison. He doesn't practice against anybody. You went off the board out of a Power 5 conference, and you took a gamble in a position where you have stunk for 25 years. In Howie Roseman's time as general manager, he's never drafted a corner. And you drafted a corner from a non-Power 5. To me, that's a gigantic gamble. Me sitting here on April 25th and saying Quinyon Mitchell is a bad pick, it's just the intangibles around it. Nobody today stays at shitty programs because of nil and because of the transfer portal. I read the story why he wanted to stay. This deal here, in my opinion, why would you take a player with such a high risk, 64% failure rate at corner, and with Howie's record, that's got to be, he has a 70% chance tonight that Quinyon Mitchell will fail. It's a massive gamble. It is a massive gamble. You took a guy that plays against nobody. You're hoping he turns out, and get this, they fell in love with the analytics and they fell in love with the. Okay. I mean, Arnold's the guy to me. Plays against the best players in the country every day in practice and against the best players in the country in the SEC. This guy plays in the Mid-America Conference and schools everyone, and played one game against one guy who, albeit Marvin Harrison, is a heck of a player. Outside of that, man, what a gamble. What an absolute gamble. On April 25th, I'm not going to go completely crazy, but that's a huge gamble. This is not like it was where you can find Darryl Green at Texas A&I 30 years ago, where kids couldn't transfer and it was impossible. Kids today play at the Power 5 schools. They don't play at shitty places like Toledo. Okay? They don't. However, out of the combines, he's rated high. So it's impossible for me to sit here and totally, completely kill the kid on April 25th. But let me lay out to you the landscape of college football. If you knew you could make $4 million at LSU or Georgia or Alabama, would you stay at Toledo to make no money because the guy liked you? Would you really do that? And because you went to the combines and you performed well at the combines, Nolan Smith performed, and so did Jordan Davis perform well at the combines. This is an analytics pick. The more I'm talking about it, the more I'm talking myself out of it. Nobody in today's college football, nobody in today's college football stays at shitty programs. You want to be seen. You want to be coached by the best coaches in the country. You want to play in the top places in the country. College football is different. It's just different. Now, again, the one thing that I will say is that at that position, you're looking at Teron Arnold and you're looking at Quinyon Mitchell. Those guys were the higher rated players at 22. What are you going to take? The fifth best guard? You're not going to take the fifth best guard. So let's go over to John McMullen, who's at the NovaCare Center, and let's get John now and get his thoughts on the Eagles selecting Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo with the 22nd pick and not moving up or down. And as many people were shocked, I think a lot of the great players really fell down to the bottom end of the draft here. John, appreciate you doing this. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, from the Eagles' perspective, Dan, I think it worked out really well from a board perspective. You know, I took Quinyon Mitchell as the Eagles pick in my mock draft because I was kind of given a hint how much they liked him. And I said, well, that's fine, but there's no way they're going to get him at 22. And I had him moving up all the way to 12 to get him. And he ends up being there at 22. So the board fell phenomenally to them, for them. You know, you had 6 quarterbacks going in the first 12 picks, which is astonishing. You had 14 consecutive offensive players going. That's a record. And not only is it a record, the previous record was 7, and it was 14 before the first defensive player came off the board. So all those defenders kind of fell to the second half. And he was there for the Eagles at 22, kind of amazing. So tremendous value at that selection and a player they really, really liked. You know, most time you're going to hear every single team that drafted, you know how this works, Dan, that drafted today is going to spin it like we got the guy we wanted. And the only one that's telling the truth is Chicago at number 1 overall. But the Eagles really like this kid, and to get him at 22 is a nice development. The fact you didn't have to give up anything to go up and get him.
Here, John. You're right, and I think the Eagles took the best value guy at that position because, to me, even Teron Arnold, I thought he was the 11th best player in the draft. I thought that Mitchell was the 7th best, and my only concerns are, again, in today's college football, John, you don't stay at programs like Toledo when you can make $4 million a year at LSU or at Alabama, and you're playing against Marvin Harrison once a year in the rest of that conference. There's nothing in that conference that's going to produce top-flight NFL guys mid-America. So my concern was he went to the combines. He had a hell of a combine. And what else he did too, John, according to the people at the Senior Bowl, he was phenomenal there, going up against a top-flight kid. So when you look at all the metrics, you look at it, it's a need. You want to move off, obviously, one of those corners, either Slay, who's going to be 33 in January, or you want to see what Bradbury does, and you get some more depth there. Also, you can even drop him in the slot or do whatever. So, to me, again, I'm conflicted because, like you said, John, these guys don't even have helmets. I'm not going to kill anything on April 25th when they don't even have a jockstrap yet. I mean, so we got to wait and see how he uses them. And I'm talking Vic Fangio, how he uses him in this draft. So, am I right, John, on how I'm looking at this? That I'm looking at they got the best player. I want to Chop there. The Dolphins took him before. I had Chop going 22 to the Eagles. He went 21 to the Dolphins here. Do you think they were coveting more edge, or do you think that this fell the way they wanted it to fall?
No, I think, I think they had a group of players they were looking at. It was probably Mitchell, Teron Arnold at corner. And I think they also had significant interest in J.C. Latham on the offensive line, but he went way up there.
Way early.
Becoming, a lot of people thought he was going to go 5 to the Chargers, and it ended up Alt going 5, and then he goes 7 to Tennessee, which probably wanted Alt. So kind of flip-flop that. That was a late week thing where all of a sudden J.C. Latham became a top 10 pick. But, at least from the perspective of people finding out about it. And then the kid from Washington as well on the offensive line. I thought those were the four guys the Eagles were kind of focused on. And Mitchell was ahead of Terrion Arnold at corner. Both of the offensive linemen were gone. So I think those were sort of the cloud of prospects the Eagles were hoping to get. And they were able to get one of them, and they got their choice of two of them. And yeah, I mean, you could talk about other needs, but, I did hear you say something about, best cornerback versus, and I had somebody else on social media saying, well, I don't want the seventh guard or the seventh tackle versus the first cornerback. But man, there's like 10 tackles worthy of being in the first round.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, there's 10 tackles that are better than the first linebacker or, the first safety. So it doesn't work like that. But yeah, Mitchell's a really good player. And I give him time to grow. He's going to be in a very complicated scheme. There's going to be some hiccups because big scheme is very communication heavy, and that's going to be difficult on young players. But as far as a talent perspective, he's got everything to be a top tier outside corner. And when you look at the age of Darius Slay and the age of James Bradbury, I could see Mitchell and Kaylee Ringo being the outside corners on this team 2 years from now. And to have good prospects like that is a good thing.
John, check this out in the draft here. You could, like you said, and I completely agree. This was, and I think it was because a lot to do with COVID, that many of these players like Fuaga, who's 24 years old, got that extra year of development when they were in college. And that's why you're seeing guys that are ready to play and plug in and play right now. These guys are 20. John, when I graduated, I was 21. I wasn't 23, 24 years old. And because of COVID and redshirting and transferring, you're getting an ability to get these guys ready to play right now. But listen, if 10 guys do go, and I'm with you, 10 offensive linemen, 6 quarterbacks, and then you tie in the receivers at 6, you're talking about 24 players out of 32 players that were picked within 3 positions in college football: receiver, quarterback, and offensive lineman. Is that an indication, or is that just something in the cycle that you're seeing right now for this respected draft, John?
Well, I think part of it was the cycle. If you talk, the best players in this draft were offensive tackles, quarterbacks, and wide receivers. So, part of that is just the cycle. Part of it is the way the game of football is going. It's so offensive centric, as I said. The record goes from 7 to 14, which is, again, that to me is the biggest story of the night. 14 consecutive offensive players go off the board before the first defensive player, and that's a guy with some medical issues and Latu. So, I mean, it's clearly the league has got that, and Jeffrey Lurie's been at the forefront of that. You got to have a high-powered offense in this league now to win consistently. It's not to say you can't win on a particular Sunday, but to win consistently, you need a high-powered offense, and everybody's sort of working from that template, and that's why you see so many offensive guys going. But, the real blue-chip players in this draft, quarterbacks, receivers, offensive tackle, and maybe Brock Bowers. I don't think there was one blue chip defensive player, and by that I mean, a
Jalen Carter, or a Will Anderson.
Exactly.
I don't see it either.
Exactly. Closest probably Turner.
Yep.
And evidently he had some medical issues as well, so he fell a little bit to 17, I think. But even he's not Will Anderson. He's not Jalen Carter. So, probably Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May at quarterback, the 3 receivers, Joe Alt, and Brock Bowers. Those are your blue chip players in this draft. And they're all offensive players.
Couple last questions for you here, John. John, in the later rounds now, do you think they come out of? And here, let me throw this at you here. In the last 8 drafts, Howie Roseman has drafted 1 corner and 4 D linemen in the last 8 drafts with no safeties or no linebackers. Could you see them looking at somebody like Cooper, Wilson, Colson, maybe the kid from Kentucky, if they're there at 50 or 53, because again, I mean, if the kid Mitchell, who's got the skill, if you watch him at the combines, I mean, there's part of me that likes the guy a lot. I'm just nervous about where he played in today's college football, but you address the need. So that's the thing that I'm always going to land on. And if you address the need at linebacker in the second round with one of those second round picks, where do you think they go with those 2-2s?
Well, it's always, and that's the thing. I mean, you'll hear a lot about this is the first cornerback the Eagles have taken since Lito Shepherd in the first round in basically 2 decades. So, and people will make a big deal out of that. But they wanted to take Patrick Surtain a couple of years ago. They wanted to take J.C. Horn a couple of years ago. They wanted to take Derek Stingley like everybody did the next year. They wanted to take the Sauce Gardner. But the board doesn't fall your way. So it's not a matter of you don't want to draft a cornerback. It just didn't fall your way. This year it fell your way. Same thing. They will consider, obviously, off-ball linebacker is one of the positions they've devalued, but they will consider it starting in the second round. But, you have to see where the board is. To me, the most likely scenario, they didn't get the offensive lineman in the first round, is they're going to get an offensive lineman in the second round for 2 reasons. What we just talked about, it's incredibly deep at that particular position, the draft. So there's going to be guys who are higher rated than a linebacker. So the Eagles are going to get an off-ball linebacker at some point in the process. It might be in the 4th round. If things break that way in the second round, it could be there. But they're not going to take an off-ball linebacker just because they have concerns over Nakobe Dean or Devin White. If one of those interior guys falls, and they can get a day 1 starter at right guard, they're always going to build that foundation up front on both sides of the football.
Absolutely, John. It's a great take. I mean, the kid from UConn who had a great Senior Bowl is a guy who's graded as one of the underrated guys in this upcoming draft here. And you look at him versus any of those linebackers, he's a better prospect.
Yeah, I mean, the kid
NFL,
from BYU,
I'm going
O-line,
right?
board. Yeah, the kid from BYU, Jordan Moses. I mean, there's so many. Tyler Guyton hasn't gone
Tyler
yet.
Guyton hasn't been taken, right?
Unless he's been taking the last few picks when I've been on the air. But, yeah, I mean, there's so many good offensive linemen in this draft. And that just matches up foundationally with what the Eagles believe in. But, yeah, they need an off-ball linebacker. And the thing is, they're so weak at that position, they'll probably get a guy who can compete even if they go into the 4th round. Not to say they're going to win a job, but if they play well over the summer, they'll get a guy who's able to compete. What the last thing you want to do, though, is say, we got to upgrade linebacker and we're going to take a worse player. I mean, that's what bad teams do, and you see it all the time. I mean, Bo Nix, you were joking about experience at the college level. I mean, I worry about how much tread he's got left on his tire, and he's getting
completely. He's
42
overall. Years old, John. I mean, really?
Some of these quarterback desperate teams, Minnesota, I mean, they pigeonholed themselves. They got 3 picks already next year's draft because they have to give up so much to go up and get a quarterback who probably belongs in the second round. I mean, and Las Vegas was the quarterback. Atlanta pays Kirk Cousins $100 million, and they drafted a quarterback at number 8.
I did not get that. And John, think about Sean Payton for a minute. So he gives that kid from BYU all that money, and he was a gadget player. You give Bo Nix that high a draft pick, and you take him, And the only reason he got Breeze is because the Dolphins didn't want him and they took Culpepper. That was the only reason that he landed in New Orleans. I sat there and I went like this. Bo Nix, he's like 25, 26 years old. What do you have? He's almost like that FSU kid that won the Heisman a couple of years ago. What do you have tops with him? 6 years? I mean, it just the quarterbacks, it just shows you too, John, doesn't it? That the level of panic that some of these organizations have, they'll overvalue these quarterbacks. And it's just like the 2021 draft, John. 4 of the 5 kids that were drafted in that draft in recent days have been traded for third-day draft picks, which means Zach Wilson's a 7th rounder now or a 6th rounder now. Think about that.
And Denver just traded for him. Yeah, I mean, look, Williams, legitimate number 1 overall pick. Jaden Daniels, to me, legitimate top 5 pick. Drake May, legitimate top 10 pick. He probably went a little bit too high. The other 3 guys, they belong in the 2nd round. I'm going to be honest with you, at best. And they got picked in the top 12. So, I mean, it's a quarterback desperate league. We all understand why. But I guarantee you can look at the 3 general managers, and even Minnesota, which has the best situation because they have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson, and at least good offensive tackles. Maybe J.J. McCarthy can develop something because they also have a good offensive coaching staff. But I would bet, if I were a betting man, I would bet all 3 of those GMs would be are out of a job in 2 years.
Absolutely.
I would lean in that direction. I hope it doesn't happen. I don't wish that on anybody. No. By the way, George, another offensive tackle just went to the Packers to give that point. But I got to roll, Dan, because I got to talk to Howie Roseman and the new draft pick. But, it worked out well for the Eagles and Quinyon Mitchell, because that's a player that I thought they would have to go up and get. And because of the way the draft board fell, Eagles didn't have to do anything.
Absolutely. John, appreciate your time. I know it's a busy night. Don't forget Birds 365 in the morning. We'll be right after them. We're doing a special 10 o'clock show. That'll be tomorrow. John, thank you so much for finding time for us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
You got it. That is John McMullen. All right, we'll take a quick time out here, come back, and we'll recap here. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Val Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sills here on the draft special. They take Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo, the Philadelphia Eagles. The quarterbacks were the storyline, though, when you take 6 in the first round and as high as they did. Bo Nix, also Michael Penix. It just shows you the panic that these organizations have. I think this is one of the worst groups of quarterbacks I've ever seen, and I'm not even sold on pink fingernails. So, I mean, he never won anything. Get this, the only guy in this draft that has won anything has been the guy from Michigan. And he is the biggest risk of all the quarterbacks. I think the draft is really at the bottom of the draft here. And Teron Arnold just went to the Detroit Lions. That's another quality player from a quality program that is going to help a rival of the Philadelphia Eagles. You took the bigger risk with your selection. You may have taken the better athlete, but the better athlete is nothing to do with who's the better quarterback, cornerback, offensive tackle. You're looking for football players, not divas, and you're not looking for workout warriors. And I'm not saying Mitchell is that. On April 25th, that would be completely unfair for me to sit there and say that that guy is not going to bring something to the Eagles. However, he is the only non-Power 5 guy in the draft in the first round. No one else will be selected. It's a massive gamble at a position that has enormous failure, and at a position that Howie has failed his entire career as a talent evaluator. I mean, I get the ranking. He's ranked in my book the 7th best player in the draft. They got him at 22. Can you pass on that? I don't want to take the 3rd best edge rusher versus the 1st best corner in the draft. He did it right. So you can't really kill him. Mitchell showed out versus Power 5 wide receivers at the Senior Bowl. He did. Personally, I think the draft, 85, showed us that the Eagles looked at the Mobile game, the Senior Bowl, and also his combine. And then that game against Marvin Harrison, they took those 3 things. And they liked it. By the way, for the record, I like the story. I like the story. He showed loyalty. You know, here's the story. Quinyon Mitchell could have went and was offered by Florida, Georgia, Texas A&M. He was offered over $1 million in nil money. And he turned it down because he loved the coaching. He loved the fact that those people, remember something, he was a non-qualifier. Do you know what that means? He was a non-qualifier coming out of high school. He had to get his grades up, and the only program that stuck with him was Toledo. No one was going to give him a full ride to go to Florida or Tennessee, and he showed loyalty. I'm not saying that that's not a great – it is. It's a great story. Yeah, but you're wrong. See, Clay goes like this. Asante Samuel came from a small school. Asante Samuel came from a time in college football that is completely different than today. I mean, Darrell Green came from Texas A&I. Nobody's getting drafted in today's NFL in the first round from Texas A&I. That's not happening because of transfer rules, because of nil. If you're a good player, say it, let's just use Temple. If you're a good player at Temple and an SEC school comes calling you and they want to pay you $1.5 million to come play at Ole Miss, you're going to stay at Temple so that you can go to Geno's and sit out front selling wedges? That's not going to work. I'm going to go to an SEC school and go to Ole Miss where I can make $1 million, be coached by the best players in the country or coaches in the country, and play against the best players in the United States. Going to small schools today, that's not where you recruit anymore. Even Sauce Gardner a couple of years ago, college football has changed so much. Again, I like the story. When I watch the kid play, he shows a lot of great metrics. He shows a lot of great. Hey, and I'll say this to you too. They addressed defense with the first pick, and they did it with a corner. Okay. You can't kill the Eagles for that. Sills, you wanted defense? We drafted defense. Sills, was cornerback one of the needs? Yep. Did we address it? Yes. How do you know if the kid's not going to be good? I don't. I can't sit here and tell you 11:14 Eastern time that kid sucks, and I won't do that. He doesn't even have an Eagle helmet yet. Wait, T. Will goes, he's a player, Sills. We'll see. Right now, he's meat. They thought Nolan Smith was a player. He's not, or hasn't shown it. Cody says loves the pick. Or do you love the, here, Cody, do you love the pick because of the player, or do you love the pick because of the need? Okay? Senor goes, stop critiquing it then. Senor, this is what I do for a living, dude, is critique. This is one of the things I've done for 40 years, is critique. I'm not telling you it's a bad pick. I'm telling you it's a risky pick. Nolan Smith, get this. Senor makes my point. Nolan Smith came from the SEC and he sucks. Quinyon Mitchell came from the Mid-America Conference. What do you think his chances are at a position that has 64% failure rate? What do you think there's a 70% chance with Howie Roseman and the way his history is on picking corners that he fails 70% of the time. That is a high-risk pick, is all I'm saying. Nolan Smith played in the Southeastern Conference. Now, DRC brings up something that I dig. Sills, he's a Florida dude. Why didn't he go to FSU? Oh, because of grades. That's right. He was a non-qualifier. Okay. So picking SEC doesn't always work out, does it? No. That just tells you, but you're missing. He's trying to change the narrative. You have a better chance of drafting in the Southeastern Conference and landing on a kid who's going to make it than you do with Mid-America guys. Name me a Mid-America guy that has gone on to be a superstar player in the last 3 years with the way college football has panned out. Who? Miami of Ohio, Eastern Michigan. Who? In the Mid-America Conference. Name me one guy. Again, I'm not killing the kid. I'm killing the kid where he came from. He may be the next Sauce Gardner. He may be the next guy like that. Okay, he might. Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, and Nakobe Dean from the SEC, and they stink. He's making my point. Those are the elite players from the elite conference, and they stink. And you think a guy in a conference that nobody cares about anymore and most likely will fold, you're going to get a superstar player out of that. Okay. Agreed. Pick is not good or bad yet. It's just risky. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything else. It's just risky. It's a risky pick. There's a better chance Arnold, who plays against the best kids in the country. Cincinnati's not Mid-America, dude. It's Conference USA when he played in it. It's a little better. Do you understand that Quinyon Mitchell played in one of the worst conferences in the United States of America? Mountain West, MAC, Mid-America Conference, Sun Belt. Those are shitty conferences. Nobody plays in those conferences that are worth the shit in the first round. Nobody gets drafted in the first round from those conferences. Maybe Mid-America. Nobody from Mid-America went this year. Nobody from Sun Belt went. Only one guy from Mid-America, him. Okay, good luck to you at a high-rate position. Arnold is a safe pick, right? Now, again, watch this. Once again, on April 25th, I want to say this one more time to you guys. This guy may turn out to be the next Brian Dawkins. Howie rolled the dice. Let's do this. Let's do this. And let's compromise on one thing. Hey, Howie, you rolled the dice on running back with Saquon Barkley. You rolled the dice on the first round with a Mid-America Conference football player and Quinyon Mitchell, okay? You drafted a guy for the first time since Lito Shepherd in the first round of corner. It's the first time in 8 years you've drafted. No, it's the second time you've drafted a corner in the first two picks. You drafted 4 linemen and 1 cornerback going into this draft tonight. And you drafted your second one in the first round. Okay. I'm not going to kill you for taking swings. Not killing anybody. I'm making a point that that's risky. That's it. Nothing more. There's no way on the planet I am going to sit here at 11:20 Eastern time and go, that kid sucks. Absolutely not happening. Absolutely not happening. Which receiver are the Bills giving Josh AFC Championship Eastern Division 4 years in a row, you mean? With a higher win percentage than Hurts and a 10 times better player? I don't know. Doesn't really matter. The good quarterbacks make shit receivers look great. Unlike your guy. Don't worry, senor. You need to have 2 $50 million wideouts to make your guy look halfway decent. You imagine that? You have 2 $50 million guys combined, and your quarterback can't throw for 3,900 yards. You think you got a problem there? Your quarterback is the worst player in your offensive huddle. I mean, let's be candid here. When your wide receivers are better than your quarterback, don't you think you have a shitty – get this, weakest AFC division. Oh, wait, I forgot. The greatness of Daniel Dimes Jones and Sam Howell and Dak Prescott in the NFC East. Wow. Holy shit. Hey, knock us down. Talk about elite quarterbacks. Dimes Jones. Who's the quarterback in Washington? Hook me up, senor. I don't know. What is it? Who's the quarterback? Oh, Jacoby Brissett's in New England. Who's the quarterback in Washington? Who's the quarterback in Washington? I must have forgot. Darius Robinson goes to the Cardinals. So the Cardinals got an edge rusher, and they got Marvin Harrison. They're going to be good. By the way, can you imagine this? That Cardinal team beat the piss out of you, and they had nobodies and backups. And now they're getting players, and they got, 9 more picks. Pretty good stuff here, man. Absolutely. Woo! Watch the Eagles trade for a player tomorrow. With what, okay. That would be great. Sam Howell, he looked like Tom Brady against the Eagles defense. He looks like Tom Brady. Holy cow. Falcons finesse the Saints. Michael Penix, I don't get that. Michael Penix, you just gave a guy $200 million. I don't know. I don't know. The NFC got new quarterbacks. Who? Did the NFC got new quarterbacks? Who did they get? Caleb Williams, pink fingernails, and who else did they get? JJ McCarthy? These guys are scrubs. JJ McCarthy's a good Johnny Manziel. Come on, man. Give me a break here with this. Jaden Daniels at Washington, I agree with you, Xander. I think he could be pretty decent, too. I think he could be. Sam Howell threw for 700 yards versus the Birds' defense. Absolutely, man. Hey, 700 yards. Thurston Howell the third threw against you guys. Guy could be better than Hurts. That's not too much of a stretch. A lot of people are better than Hurts. Hurts is the 15th best quarterback in the league. He's in the middle there somewhere. He's somewhere in there. Other than that, you have to have superstar talent around him. That's why you gave A.J. Owens his baby money. And we cried a little bit. Screamed, cried, kicked my feet up, spit my beak out, got my money. All good. So, Dan, you're telling me you will take Hurts over all of those quarterbacks? Yeah, I would take Hurts over Dimes Jones and Sam Howell and probably Dak. Yeah. Gee. Woo. Wow. Are you crazy? Bills traded down with the Chiefs. Wow. You think they take that kid from Texas, that quick kid? They need a receiver. Both places need a receiver. You watch this. I bet they take that kid Worthy because Mahomes likes that kid. They're going to take a receiver. Or they could get an old lineman in there. Okay, Dan, we got both our second rounders. I hope they go linebacker in there. T. Will, yeah, AJ stays because he cried. My God. I bet you they take Xavier Worthy. The kid that's that speed demon, that's the next Tyreek Hill. Watch. They take that kid. I'll bet you anything they take him. Shit, Patrick Mahomes was working out with him a couple weeks ago. Jaden Daniels might be solid, but he had one great. I agree. I'm not sold really on any of these guys. I like McConkey, the kid from Georgia. Trotter. Dude, Trotter's a third or fourth round. Trotter's a third or fourth round. Josh Allen had a stacked team, couldn't win. Stacked team? DRC, stacked team? Where? Who? Who in that team is stacked compared to Jalen Hurts? Are you crazy? Nobody has been given more talent than Jalen Hurts in Eagle history. And he still can't throw for $4,000. Okay? And he still can't throw for 25 touchdowns. Guy's average. He's average. The kid Guyton from Oklahoma is really good. Like him. Hey, get this. If Cooper DeJean falls in the second round, do you draft him too? Go corner 2 corners? I don't know, man. You're going to be right up there if you could do that. Jalen Hurts got stacked this year. Relax. Really? 5,000 passing yards. Holy shit. Let's see if he gets over 3,900. Sills, it's draft night. Come on, let us enjoy. Okay. Right. You're right, Prince. You're right. I agree. It's a great night. You got a player. You got a need. You got a guy who looks like a really good athlete. Absolutely true. Prince, you're right. It can't be looked at any other way than what I just said. My only problem was the risk, but when you look at the player and his tape, how about this with Mitchell? When you watched him at the Senior Bowl, he excelled and he stood out. When you watched him on his tape, he stood out. When you watched him at the combines, he stood out. His interview, by all accounts, was great. His visit into Philly was great. Right. All the boxes check. All the boxes check. Absolutely. Eagles should draft Junior Colston. I like Junior Colston, Frankie. The Michigan linebacker, I like him. I do. I like him a lot. DeJean at 50 for sure if he's there. Boy, Senor, if that guy's sitting there at 50, I'm taking his ass too. I'll go corner, man. That's too good just to pass on him. You know, you're going to get one of the guys. Cooper DeJean is rated as the 23rd best player in the draft. You get him at 50, take him. Take him. Because then you also had your bet with Quinnen. You know what I'm saying? If Quinnen doesn't pan out, DeJean will. Or if DeJean doesn't, Quinnen does. You had your bets. So you're good there. Quinnen Mitchell has quick twitch. He does. Did you ever watch him? I have. That's half the reason he was ranked so high. Speed, agility, and all the rest of it. I got it. He just didn't play against anybody. Okay? And he plays in one of the worst conferences in the country. It's kind of like Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz playing at North Dakota State. I don't know. I'm not drafting anybody out of that school. Just not. And he wasn't horrible. But I get it. Reek goes, Dan, you would suck at GM. You mean like your GM when it comes to picking defensive players? He's horrific. Don't talk to me about that. Once you turn that around and look at your general manager when it comes to drafting defensive talent, he's horrible at it. It's actually unbecoming of a GM. So don't let me go there. I want to do what my friend Senor said. Enjoy yourself. Calling me a bad GM? Your GM has been horrific on defense. Did Worthy go? Did Worthy go to Kansas City? Worthy to KC? That's a Patrick Mahomes pick. That's a Patrick Mahomes pick. Because the other kid is ranked higher, the other wide receiver from Texas. He's ranked higher. But Xavier Worthy was the fastest guy at the combines. Do you know what that pick is actually, too? That's kind of a slap in the face to Tyreek Hill because they think they got Tyreek Hill 2.0. Okay? They think they got Tyreek Hill 2.0 here. I agree, James. I watched him in those Texas games, especially in the OU game. He dropped a ton of footballs in that OU game. Other teams been horrible in the trenches. All teams have their weaknesses. Yeah, but Twiz, you can't pick a linebacker and you can't pick a corner to save your life in the last 30 years. It's not just a couple of years. It's 30. Teron Arnold went to Detroit. Now you know what's going to happen? Mitchell's going to be compared to Teron Arnold. And let's see what Arnold does, and let's see what Mitchell does. Quinton Mitchell and Sauce Gardner will be the best corners in football for the future. Well, the best corners in Denver. He's not with the Jets. As much as you think he is, Gardner's not better than Patrick Surtain. He's not. It's quite frankly not close. And if they were so good, why did that defense get annihilated last year? I mean, they were destroyed. The Jets, how many wins did they have? 6? Come on, man. Lions have a better defense, Sills. They do. They got a better linebacking core, and their front four is getting better, and their back end now just got better too. Get this, they got better with this kid Arnold being added to the secondary here. I mean, yeah, hey, by the way, I heard Kirk Cousins wasn't even informed that they were going to take a quarterback in this draft. And there was Arthur Blank, and we're high-fiving everybody. And he just gave $250 million away of his money. Okay? I mean, okay. How he blew at the Lions, traded up to get Arnold. I think Arnold's the pick. I think he's the pick too. We'll see, though. Again, here on April 25th, I don't think you can make that call here and say that. Arnold will be good, but not better than Mitchell. Why should not Alabama cornerbacks outside Surtain have not been great? Miller was a bust. Dude, you're missing the entire point. I'm talking Southeastern Conference. They play against the best players in practice and in Saturdays. So get this, Monday through Saturday, the cornerbacks and receivers in the SEC play against the best people every day. Quinton Mitchell plays against one guy once a year. People on his team aren't going to get drafted. You think anybody in his team's going to get drafted in the first 5 rounds this year? No. I guarantee you this. Toledo may not have another player drafted. Tyler Guyton is a Cowboy. That's a really great pick for the Dallas Cowboys. They need a tackle after losing Tyron Smith. That's a really good pick, man. Good for him. That's a great pick. Those guys getting him and getting his ability to go to the Dallas Cowboys. They need offensive line. And I think he's a good football player too. Oklahoma's been putting out some pretty good linemen. We know one right now in Lane Johnson. Penix needs to tighten his baseball windup. Who does Cincinnati play? The Bearcats are Conference USA. I think they just moved into another conference, though. Lions drafted Jack Campbell. That was last year. He was pretty good. He put a good season up last year. Jerry, I think that's a good pick for them. I really do. All right, Xander, we got a show tomorrow. That's going to be at 10 a.m. And we're going to follow Birds 365. Nick Saban said Quinton Mitchell was his number one player last year. He wanted to get in the portal, and Quinton would not get in the portal. That storyline right there is what really – so get this. Here's the deal with Quinton Mitchell here, okay? He wanted him in the portal, which means this. Nick thought he was an SEC guy. Okay, he thought he was an SEC guy, which by the way, I'm not saying it's a horrible pick. I am not saying that. Not at all. And if anyone is getting that and it landed there, I didn't say it. I said it's a risky pick because he didn't play against really great people. I didn't say on April 25th, 11:36, that it's a bad pick. Okay? 85, Dan, who are you taking at 50 and 53? I'm going to go O-line and linebacker here at 50-53. And I'm going to parlay one of those 5th rounders in that 4th rounder, and I'm going to try to get in the 3rd round. Try to get another defensive player like an edge rusher. And I'm going to try to land on an edge rusher in that 3rd round. I don't want 5th rounders. Not that they're horrible. The Eagles have had great success, in my opinion, going into that 5th round and getting some really 5th and 4th rounds. Sirianni's back in the draft room. I mean, what's Fredo doing in there? Delivering lasagna? Is he, hey, dude, hey, Gulch says I'm being a downer. I'm not a downer. I haven't ripped the pick at all. I'm just giving you a realist look at it. Once again, Quinyon Mitchell, outstanding looking talent. His tape says a lot. His Senior Bowl said a lot. His interview went well. His visit in Philly went great. His combine was exceptional. I'm not sure what you want me to say. My only negative is that I don't like who he played against, and I don't like the conference he was in. That's it. Xavier Worthy is going to be nasty with Mahomes and Reed. Look what they did to Tyreek Hill. It would not shock me if Xavier Worthy, inside of 4 years, is the next Tyreek Hill. I mean, look what he did for him. Make no mistake about it. That is, you got the best play calling head coach, and you got the best quarterback since Brady. So, I mean, all good. All right, Xander, tomorrow, 10 a.m., we're going to have more response. We're going to be able to look at all of the NFL draft. So it's 10 a.m. tomorrow. Don't forget, we're not going on 2 to 6. My daughter's graduating tomorrow. So I'm going for an hour. That'll be tomorrow. And we'll get full response on all 32. And we'll also be able to comment more on what people have been saying. Quinyon Mitchell has a great story, guys. He really does. He has an absolutely great story. All right. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on JAKIB. The only place you'll catch Big Sills is right here. We'll see you tomorrow morning.